And this episode of Penn Point starts now. This episode of Penn Point is brought to you by Squarespace. So I'm going to tell another story about Night of Too Many Stars. This Jon Stewart thing that he does to help people with autism. And I get asked to do a phone bank thing in one bit with John, and then a phone bank thing for a while. So after I'd been, done claiming to be Tom Hanks, and after I had some wonderful conversations claiming I was Penn, and some wonderful conversations saying Teller was sitting there next to me, and wonderful conversation where a couple were having a child asked me for a great name for a girl, and I suggested the name of my daughter, Moxie, because they live far enough away she wouldn't be in the same school system, and also the age difference is enough that it's okay, and they loved that idea. So it was a thrilling night. So then one woman calls me up and she says, I want to speak to George Clooney. And I say to her, this is all true, George Clooney is not even in the building yet. George Clooney's not even on the phone bank. I mean, Betty White's on the phone bank, Tom Hanks is on the phone bank, Kevin Pollak is on the phone bank, Jon Stewart is standing right here next to me, but George Clooney is not here, so I can't put him on. And she says, I will give an extra $100 if my 84-year-old mother can talk to George Clooney. And I go, I'd love that, and I would do that in a second. And she goes, who's this? I go, this is Penn of Penn and Teller. Means nothing to her. Fine. Great. I'm not George Clooney. So she says, no, I insist on talking to George Clooney. And I say, you can't talk to George Clooney. So I've been honest long enough that I can now start fucking with her, right? This is my morality. So she says, please put on George Clooney. Please, please, please. So I go, okay. Hi, this is George Clooney. Because it works so well with Tom Hanks. And she goes, this is that same person. I go, no, it's George Clooney. She goes, no, it's the same person. So there's a guy next to me from The Daily Show, one of the correspondents there. And I say to him, be George Clooney. I said, no, this is really George Clooney. And I hand the phone to the guy next to me, and the guy next to me goes, this is George Clooney. And she goes, and then he finally goes, no, it's really not. He breaks down instantly. He doesn't hold on to it at all. And he says, no, George Clooney's in here. And he tells her the same stuff. He's not in the room. And she says, no. He gives the phone back to me. And I say, listen, he's not going to be here for hours. And she says, well, I'll wait. Just put me on hold and I'll wait. Now, if I put her on a hold to wait for George Clooney, then I'm not going to be answering phones for the next 2 hours, and I'm not really doing my part. And then, no one's, if I don't do my part, then nobody will get helped who has autism. This is all on my shoulders. So I said, no, you can't do that. And she goes, I really want to talk to George Clooney. And at that moment, he's not on the phone banks yet, but at that moment, George fucking Clooney, who I've never met in my life, walks up to the phone bank and says, hi, Penn. Hi, Penn. George Clooney says to me. He's just walking by. And I go, hi, George. Would you take this phone call? And I give the phone to George Clooney. Now, I am now the boy who cried George Clooney. I have claimed twice before that other people were George Clooney, and now I actually have George Clooney. And I give him the phone. Now, I know it's going to be hard to convince her that he's George Clooney, but that's his problem, right? That's his problem. And I hear George Clooney do this. He says, yes, this is George Clooney. No, this really is. This is my impersonation of him, by the way. No, this really is George Clooney. No, I'm George Clooney. Yeah, of course I sound like him. I am George Clooney. No, I am George Clooney. What can I tell you? Yes, I am George. Rosemary Clooney is my aunt. I think he says aunt, but I say aunt. He says aunt. Rosemary Clooney is my aunt. That's the sentence he says. And I can hear her screaming with glee on the other side of the phone. And she puts on her 84-year-old mother, and she talks to George Clooney, and it really is George Clooney, and he is thrilled, and she is thrilled, and he makes them the happiest people on earth. The happiest people on earth. But what it takes to convince her that he's really George Clooney is to say that Rosemary Clooney is his aunt? That's all it fucking took? I mean, what am I going to do? Also say he was on ER? I could have said Rosemary Clooney was my aunt and she would have believed me, even though I say aunt instead of aunt like George Clooney. But anyways, George Clooney was really, really nice and made her day, and it was terrific, and it really was George Clooney. But the proof that he's George Clooney is Rosemary Clooney is my aunt. And then I figure, well, maybe the whole deal on this is nobody who wasn't George Clooney would think that that was enough evidence. You know, if you were trying to lie to somebody, you would never choose that. So maybe it is the most brilliant way in the world to prove you're George Clooney. He's also a great, wonderful guy. So Tom Hanks, George Clooney, Betty White, all really good guys on a phone bank for a charity thing. Penn, little bit of a dick. Squarespace offers users a flexible solution for anyone looking to create a blog, personal portfolio, or any kind of website. No matter what level of coding experience you have, Squarespace can provide the tools needed to create a high-end, complex website that is uniquely your own. Don't worry if you come across any questions or issues. Squarespace also offers every user 24/7 support. Squarespace's iPhone app was recently updated with all kinds of great new features like full HTML blog editing on the go and comment moderation. Get push notifications to approve new comments, mark existing comments as spam, reply to comments, and more, all from your iPhone. Many of the internet's highest trafficked web pages are powered by Squarespace, not to mention many of the personal pages of Revision 3 hosts and personalities. Go to www.squarespace.com to learn more. Be sure to enter code PENN when checking out to earn 10% off the lifetime of your order.